My husband claimed he'd be away on a 15-day business trip and told me not to contact him. He got exposed at tea, dining at an upscale restaurant with his young mistress. I cut off his black card, sold the mansion, and later found 66 missed calls. He screamed, "Why did you suddenly cancel the card? How am I supposed to get back to the States?" I just looked at him, my voice colder than any winter, and watched as the man who'd built a kingdom on my betrayal finally saw it all come crashing down around him. Have you ever felt that moment of utter, chilling vindication? It was dusk, and I was out on the patio, lost in the delicate world of my Phalaenopsis orchids. That's when Ethan, my husband of 10 years, emerged. He was dragging a suitcase to the entryway, still in his expensive suit, but with his tie slightly loosened. That familiar scent, rich cologne, tobacco, and the weariness of a long day always managed to overpower the clean, sweet fragrance of my carefully tended flowers. After a decade, that smell was just Ethan. Part of the background, much like our marriage had become. He barely glanced at me. "I'm leaving," he stated, his voice flat, devoid of any warmth or even fatigue. "Big business trip. Foreign partners. They want a geological survey for a resort in the Hamptons. New project." It was just a notification, like a weather forecast. No emotion, no concern. I nodded, moving closer, pretending to adjust his shirt collar. 15 days? That's sudden. And so long. He pulled back, a subtle, almost imperceptible flinch I still caught. "Top secret, you understand? Need to investigate thoroughly. Information can't leak." He took my hand, but his palm felt strangely cool. "For security reasons, don't call or text me for these 15 days. Phone off. Focus. I'll call you as soon as the work is done. House and garden are in your hands." I forced a smile, the one I'd perfected over 10 years. The smile of a wise, understanding wife. "All right. Go do your important work. I'll be fine here. Have a peaceful trip." The clatter of his suitcase wheels on the tiled floor echoed through the opulent brownstone, followed by the heavy thud of the iron gate closing. Then, chilling silence. I stood there in the middle of our lavish living room, staring at my reflection in the huge picture window. 10 years ago, I, Eva Reed, was an ambitious landscape architect with my own brand, Reed Landscapes. But Ethan's words, "I need someone to hold down the fort," had made me give it all up. I became a stay-at-home wife, pouring my heart into every corner of this garden, believing I was nurturing our home. But his coldness had grown over the years. Dinners together dwindled. Affection, concern, all gone. He left early, came home late. Always work. I blamed myself. Was it me? Did all marriages just wither like this? I tried to revive things, only to be met with indifference, sometimes irritation. Eventually, I grew tired too. Silence became our constant companion. This 15-day business trip, this strange, no-contact request, it didn't unsettle me. It just solidified the cold distance that had grown between us. 3 days later, the house felt cavernously empty. I found solace in my orchid garden, my Phalaenopsis, my dancing ladies, the vibrant purple dendrobiums I'd ordered from Florida, all in full bloom. As I carefully wiped each leaf, my phone on the table dinged. I thought it was a promo text, ignored it. But then a second ding and a third. I sighed, took off my gloves, and picked it up. 3 identical notifications from the bank. My heart leaped. Transaction alerts from Ethan's black card, the secondary card linked to my account, which I'd given him for work convenience. My eyes locked on it. $4,000 charge at Arya Restaurant. Arya. That name pierced my eardrum like a needle. $4,000. I quickly checked the date and time. Just 10 minutes ago. With trembling hands, I called the bank. The agent confirmed, yes, Mrs. Reed, a successful payment of $4,000 was made at Arya Restaurant on the Upper East Side, Manhattan. The Upper East Side. Not the Hamptons. I hung up. My whole body went cold. The sweet scent of the orchids suddenly felt nauseating, suffocating. I remembered Arya all too well. 6 months ago, for our 10th anniversary, I'd practically begged Ethan to go. Honey, they say it's so romantic, beautiful river view. His eyes glued to his computer, he'd scoffed, don't be ridiculous. Look at the price. A single meal costs a month's salary for one of my employees. It's for idle rich people to show off. I tried to explain, just once in 10 years. But he grew annoyed. Don't be so extravagant. We can use that money for something useful. Our anniversary ended with a regular dinner at home. I'd consoled myself, he's practical. He cares about big business, not trivial vanities. But today my husband, supposedly surveying land in the Hamptons, the same man who told me not to contact him, was at Aria, dropping $4,000. What client was he entertaining? My hands trembled, not from anger yet, but from a chilling cold that shot through me. Had I been living in absolute trust for 10 years, or in a perfectly wrapped deception? I looked at the pure white phalaenopsis, beautiful, immaculate. But now, they felt fragile, hypocritical. He lied to me. That thought, clear and sharp, stabbed my heart like broken glass. He had deceived me. After the initial shock came a chilling calm. Like a deep wound, the pain arrives later. Numbness first. I didn't scream or break things. I just walked inside and poured myself a glass of ice water. The cold water cleared my mind. What now? Call him, scream. Where are you? Only to hear another elaborate lie? I'd already wasted 10 years trusting him. I couldn't afford to be a fool for another second. I needed the truth. I scrolled through my contacts. Mom? No, she had a heart condition. She'd worry herself sick. I needed someone with a cooler head. Someone who could act. My eyes landed on Chloe. My best friend since college. Unlike me, she hadn't given up her career. Chloe was a sharp, independent lawyer, and she detested hypocrisy. If anyone could help, it was her. I called. On the second ring, she answered. What's up, lady of the brownstone? Missed your poor friend, or got another flower project? Her voice was cheerful as ever. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice from trembling. It was choked. Chloe, are you free now? I need your help. Her voice turned serious instantly. She knew I wasn't joking when I sounded like that. I'm at the office. What's wrong? Your voice sounds strange. What did Ethan do? I'm not sure, I whispered, trying to sort through the fragments in my head. Ethan said he went to the Hamptons for 15 days. Secret project. No calls, no texts. Secret? Chloe scoffed. Smells fishy. What is this, 1950? A secret from his own wife. I cut her off, getting straight to the point. 15 minutes ago, the black card on my account was used to pay $4,000 at Aria restaurant on the Upper East Side. Silence. A few seconds of it. The silence of a lawyer. Analyzing a case. Aria? Chloe asked, her voice low. The French restaurant you wanted for your anniversary, the one he called extravagant? Yes, I confirmed, my throat burning. That bastard, she hissed. I told you not to trust your husband too much. $4,000 is definitely a problem. What do you want now? Should I send someone over immediately? No, I interrupted. Not a scandal. Not yet. I need the truth. You're a lawyer. You have your methods. Investigate who he's with. Aria is a luxury place. They'll have security cameras, a reservation list. Understood, Chloe replied concisely. Send me the card info, your account number, a clear photo of Ethan. I have contacts. But Ava, are you really okay? I looked at my orchid garden. The white petals were still there, beautiful. But why did they feel so fragile now? I don't know, I admitted. But don't worry, I won't fall apart. I hung up. I knew, from that moment, my life would never be the same. I don't know how long I sat motionless on the patio. The sun had set, leaving an orange trail. A long night ahead. The scent of the orchids was no longer fragrant, it was nauseating. I didn't eat. In the huge house, only the regular ticking of the grandfather clock echoed, each tick a hammer blow to my empty chest. I tried to deceive myself. Maybe it really is an important business partner. Maybe it's a female CEO. Maybe $4,000 is just a deposit for a large contract. I clung to that faint hope, but it shattered when my phone buzzed. Around 10 p.m., a message from Chloe. Take a deep breath, sit down, then open this. My hands trembled. I'd told her I wouldn't fall apart, but my body was betraying me. Blood drained from my face. My hands and feet turned cold. I clicked the video file. It was only 30 seconds. Recorded surreptitiously, maybe by another customer or from a security camera. The angle wasn't perfect, but those 30 seconds were enough to end my 10 years of marriage. It was Ethan, wearing the same suit I'd ironed for him that morning. Jacket off, looking relaxed in Arya's luxurious space. And he wasn't alone. Across from him sat a very young woman. Long, light brown hair, fair skin, a wine-colored silk slip dress. I recognized her. Charlotte, the new intern at Ethan's company. I'd met her once, 3 months ago, when I brought him lunch at the office. He'd introduced her superficially. This is Charlotte, intern in my department. She'd bowed politely, hello, Mrs. Reed. With such delicious food, no wonder Mr. Cole praises you so much. In this 30-second video, Ethan was using a silver fork to carefully place a large piece of lobster onto Charlotte's plate. He smiled with a sweetness and affection, his eyes filled with a deep passion I hadn't seen in maybe 5 years. Charlotte leaned back, laughing heartily. Then, she quickly leaned over the table and used her finger to wipe away some sauce near Ethan's mouth. A blatant gesture of intimacy. Ethan didn't pull away. He took her hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it. The video ended. I dropped the phone onto the cold granite floor. A dry clack. I had been betrayed. Not a business partner. Not a passing fling. A deep, secret relationship. He was using my money, the card I gave him, to wine and dine a girl half my age. Pain constricted my chest, but strangely, I couldn't cry. The tears had dried up long ago. Nausea rose in my throat. I had given up my brilliant career at Reed Landscapes. I'd sacrificed my youth to be the stable support for this liar. I tended my garden, only to discover a venomous snake within it. The phone lay dark on the floor, but the 30-second video replayed in my head, a slow-motion nightmare. Ethan holding Charlotte's hand, the loving smile, the kiss. Each scene a blade stabbing my already hardened heart. I slid down the cold wall. This brownstone, this garden, for 10 years I thought it was my heaven, the result of my sacrifice. It was just a gilded cage and I, a foolish bird, had locked myself in while the owner went hunting for another, younger bird. The phone rang again. Chloe. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I got it. Did you see it? Chloe's voice was urgent, full of rage. I didn't answer. My throat was tight. That bastard. Ethan. That damn bastard. Chloe started cursing. She could never stay calm when her friend was hurting. Charlotte, the intern. Her face looked familiar. What are you going to do now? Go over there and smash everything. Chloe, I interrupted, my voice flat, devoid of emotion, without tears. Huh? Chloe stopped, surprised by my unnatural calm. Are you at the office now? Yes, I am. I was waiting for your call. You are my lawyer, right? Of course I am. What are you saying? I'm your friend. I took a deep breath. A coldness was spreading from my heart throughout my spine. I don't need you to be my friend. I need you to be my lawyer. You need to be colder than me. Silence. I knew Chloe understood. She switched from furious friend to professional counsel. Speak. I'm listening. Her voice was sharp, professional. First, I said, standing and walking to the hardwood desk where our house documents, bank books, and deeds were kept, prepare the procedures to immediately freeze all of our joint marital accounts. Freeze? Chloe questioned. Are you sure? If you freeze them, he'll find out immediately and call you. He'll find out, I replied firmly. But it will be too late for him to do anything. This brownstone was in both our names. The down payment, a gift from my parents, became joint marital property. I can't let him touch the assets. I noticed the shift. My beloved husband, Ethan, had died in that 30-second video. What remained was a stranger named Ethan Cole. Understood, Chloe said. But to freeze joint accounts, we need a valid reason. You need to file for divorce, giving us the legal basis to request an emergency freeze. No, I stated firmly. Now is not the time to divorce. If I divorce now, I'll be giving him and that woman freedom. I need another reason. I don't want to go to court yet. I looked around the well-appointed room. Chloe, if I report to the bank, as the primary cardholder, that I suspect my husband is committing fraud or using marital property for illegal purposes, would that be reason enough for them to temporarily freeze the accounts? Chloe was silent for a few seconds. Legally, it's sufficient. The bank has the right to temporarily suspend to protect client assets, especially if you're a VIP client. But it will cause a scandal. I need a scandal, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I want him to realize I'm not the idiot he's been manipulating for 10 years. I hung up with Chloe. I allowed myself not a second of regret or fear. If pain doesn't kill you, it turns you into steel. And at that moment, my heart felt harder than stone. 10 years. I was a submissive wife. 10 years, I stepped back. This was the price. I immediately looked up the number for Mr. Davies, Director of Preferred Client Services at our VIP bank. He'd managed my accounts for 5 years, always polite, calling on holidays, sending flowers. Now, those preferred services were needed. It was almost 11 p.m., but the phone rang only 3 times. Mrs. Reed, good evening. Calling me at this hour? Is there an emergency? Mr. Davies's voice was gentle. I interrupted him, my voice surprisingly calm, brokering no interruptions. Mr. Davies, I'm calling about an emergency. I need you to handle 2 things immediately. First, cancel the secondary credit card. The card number is... I clearly read out Ethan's black card number, memorized from paying his statements every month. Cancel? Cancel it right now. Mr. Davies sounded shocked. Ma'am, this is a maximum limit VIP card. Mr. Cole is on a business trip. He might have an emergency. I know, I cut him off. I am requesting the cancellation. I am the primary holder. I have the right. Cancel it now. Yes. Yes. Understood. I'll block the card immediately. What's the second matter? His voice was already tense. The second matter is... I took a deep breath. I, Ava Reed, co-owner of the joint accounts. I gave him the numbers of our 3 joint accounts, checking, stock, and the $50,000 joint savings. I request the bank apply an emergency measure to temporarily freeze all transactions from these accounts. Mr. Davies was silent longer this time. I heard him suck in his breath. Mrs. Reed, could you tell me the reason? This is very complicated, procedurally, since Mr. Cole is also a co-owner. The reason is, I emphasized each word, I, the primary owner of the majority of the assets, have sufficient grounds to suspect that my husband, Mr. Ethan Cole, is using the joint assets for illegal purposes and committing fraud. And he is currently showing signs of liquidating assets. Fraud, illegal, liquidating assets. The legal terms Chloe had told me to use to force the bank's hand. The director genuinely panicked. Ma'am, calm down. This is very serious. If you say so, according to client protection regulations, I will immediately notify the system to temporarily block all online and over-the-counter transactions. Please come to the nearest branch tomorrow at 8 a.m. to sign the paperwork. Good. I'll be there tomorrow at 8 a.m., I replied concisely. I don't want a single dollar withdrawn from those accounts from this moment on. Do you understand? Yes, understood. I'll process it immediately. I hung up. The room fell silent. I looked at my hand, still clutching the phone. It wasn't trembling. For 10 years, these hands had cooked, laundered, planted flowers, massaged his tired shoulders. Now, with these same 2 hands, I was freezing everything that was his. I had cut off his financial channel, his retreat. That $4,000 appetizer at Arya was truly expensive. It was time to serve the main course. I didn't know how Ethan would react when his black card was declined, or when he learned he couldn't access any accounts. But I knew he would call me soon. And I was ready. I couldn't sleep. I sat in the armchair on the patio, looking at the orchid garden shrouded in darkness. My mind was just as dark. Every time I closed my eyes, the 30-second video appeared with cruel clarity, Ethan's kiss, Charlotte's laugh, the $4,000 bill, a pantomime mocking the 10 years of my youth I'd buried in this brownstone. At 7:05 a.m., I arrived at Chloe's office. My eyes were swollen from the sleepless night, my face pale. I knew how miserable I looked. Chloe came out of the conference room, sharp and authoritative in a tailored black suit, hair pulled back. Her usual cheerful eyes were gone, replaced by suppressed rage. She pushed a hot coffee at me. "Drink it. You look like death warmed over." I shook my head. My throat was dry. "I can't." "Did you finish everything?" Chloe sat across from me, crossing her arms. "I finished. At 8 o'clock, I sent your confirmation paperwork to the bank director. Everything is frozen. His black card is officially a useless piece of plastic." For a moment, a sense of relief washed over me, but it didn't fill the void. "Thank you." Chloe's gaze was penetrating. "Ava, now answer me calmly as your lawyer. What do you want? Just to give him a warning and vent your anger? Or do you want a divorce?" Divorce. Why did that word sound so strange, so painful? For 10 years, I'd given up everything to be that man's wife, putting Reed landscapes aside. Now divorce? I really don't know. When I fell silent, Chloe sighed and stood, pacing. "Look at me. If you just want to warn him, frankly, Ethan will come back. He'll kneel, beg forgiveness, swear heaven and earth will fall before he changes. And then what? He'll go back to his old ways, but next time, he'll be more secretive, more cunning. You'll live your whole life in doubt." I looked at Chloe. The restaurant kiss replayed. "No," I whispered. "I can't take it anymore." "Then it's divorce," Chloe stated, a certainty, not a question. "If you decide to divorce, you have to be ready to fight. Ethan isn't an idiot. He and his family won't let you go easily with anything." "I want a divorce," my voice suddenly clear. "But before I divorce, I want to know exactly what I had for the last 10 years and what he secretly took from me." Chloe smiled. A cold, calculating smile. "Good. This is the Ava Reed I know." She pulled up a chair and opened a folder. "I did a preliminary investigation. The biggest asset is the brownstone on the Upper East Side. It's in both your names." I nodded. The house was like a wedding gift from my parents, who'd put up most of the money. "I froze the joint savings and stock accounts," Chloe continued. "Problem is, he surely has personal accounts. Do you know his exact salary?" I hesitated. "He told me the company held a salary and bonuses in a deferred compensation fund every month. He only gave me $2,500 for household expenses and garden maintenance." Chloe scoffed. "Ava, $2,500? You believe that? He's a senior director in charge of billion-dollar projects. His take-home pay is only $2,500? He's been playing you for 10 years. I bowed my head. "How did your top-secret geological survey in the Hamptons end up on the Upper East Side in Manhattan?" My voice now clear and cold as ice. Silence on the other end of the phone. Chilling. I heard his heavy breathing. He was trying to construct the next lie. "You? What nonsense are you talking about?" His voice suddenly lowered, no longer screaming, but probing. Panic was evident. Who told you that?" I drawled sarcastically. "Perhaps your partner said so." The brown-haired partner in a red dress, sitting at Arya. "Isn't it a bit extravagant to entertain with a $4,000 meal? You were spying on me?" His voice immediately became threatening. The rage of being caught replaced his confusion. "I don't care," I replied, frost in my tone. "Your job is to entertain." I paused. "Oh, and I forgot to inform you of one thing." "What thing?" he asked cautiously. "The brownstone on the Upper East Side," I said, and smiled, though he couldn't see it. I felt a strange satisfaction. "I've put it up for sale. The real estate agent called me this morning. Clients are offering a good price. We'll probably sign the papers this weekend." "What?" This time, he screamed. A sharp shriek of extreme panic and rage. "Are you crazy? Ava Reed. How dare you? That's my house. It's our house. You have no right to do that until I get back to the States." "Get back to the States?" I raised my voice, no longer maintaining composure. "You had no right to rent a restaurant to spend our money on your mistress." I froze the accounts, canceled the black card, and the house will be sold soon. I hope your survey was pleasant. Now figure out how you'll get back to the States. I didn't wait for him to rant. I pressed end call with determination. I knew Ethan, cornered, would call his greatest ally, his mother, Eleanor. I'd been her daughter-in-law for 10 years. I understood this family, a strange sense of unity, especially when protecting their precious son. An hour later, my phone rang again. Eleanor. Once, I'd saved that name with reverence. Now, it brought only infinite fatigue. I took a deep breath, trying to sound normal. Hello, Eleanor. Immediately, without greeting, miserable crying poured into my ear, like the wailing from a soap opera she loved. Oh my God, Ava. Ava, how could you do this to your husband? Will you only be satisfied when that boy dies on the street? I kept silent, letting her cry. This was an act I'd seen for 10 years. Every conflict, she'd use tears, and I'd end up apologizing, even if it wasn't my fault. Since I didn't react, her crying stopped as abruptly as a switch. She switched to a sharp tone. Are you going to keep playing dumb? Ethan just called me, crying. He said you froze his card and his accounts. What are you doing? Who do you think that boy is suffering for? It's for this house. It's for you. How could you be such an unreasonable and inconsiderate woman? Unreasonable. I repeated, the word a dull knife in my ear. I laughed, a cold, harsh sound. Eleanor, am I the unreasonable one, or is your son? He told me he went to the Hamptons to investigate, but he used $4,000 of our money to dine at a luxury restaurant on the Upper East Side with another woman. In your eyes, that's him suffering for me. A chilling silence. I knew Ethan would never have told his mother these costly details. But I underestimated her. Eleanor was a seasoned actress. After a few seconds of surprise, she changed the script. The crying returned, more miserable this time. Oh, sweetie, I know. I know you're hurt. But you have to understand, men can't help but fall into temptation. Maybe he made a temporary mistake. If you make a scandal like this, people will laugh at our family. You have to handle this privately. Patience is a woman's virtue. If you sell the house, where will the children grow up later? Think about it again. Mistake. I felt like crying, but I laughed instead. Eleanor, where is there a $4,000 mistake? I sacrificed my career at Reed Landscapes to serve at home. And he's using our money to entertain a young woman half my age. You. She stopped crying again, turning nasty. What are you saying so disrespectfully? How dare you talk to your mother-in-law like that? I'm not speaking disrespectfully, I cut her off, my voice colder than ice. I'm just telling the truth. I can no longer be the cash cow this whole family makes fun of. If you don't reactivate the accounts now, don't blame me for becoming a monster. I'll go to your house right now. I didn't give her a chance to continue threatening. I hung up. I slumped onto the cold floor. Infidelity. That's how all men are. Everyone knew. They knew and they defended it. They took my sacrifice for granted, considered his betrayal a small mistake. This whole family was rotten to the core. I had no doubts anymore. I sat there for hours. They weren't just defenders, they were accomplices. Together, they put on a play, and I was the only stupid character who believed it was real. The pain of emotional betrayal had turned into rage over the betrayal of intimacy and trust. For 10 years, I considered Eleanor my mother. What I got was a knife in the back. I didn't cry. My tears had dried up last night. Or maybe the rage froze them. I just felt an infinite disgust. The next morning, I woke with swollen eyes. Oatmeal was impossible to swallow. Eleanor's call was poison, killing my last affection, my last illusion about the family I'd tried to hold on to. As I sat in my orchid garden, my phone dinged. An unknown number. I felt a premonition. I clicked. The account name was Charlotte. The profile picture, a young woman pouting. The first message, without greeting, was a photo. A photo on a luxury yacht. Blue sea, clear sky. Charlotte, Ethan's mistress, in a red bikini, flaunting her youth and vitality, smiling like a winner. But what paralyzed me was Ethan, shirtless, holding a glass of wine, clearly reflected in her designer sunglasses, taking the photo. That man. My husband. The same one who screamed yesterday that he was humiliated because he had no money. The same one his mother cried about, saying he was suffering far away. It turned out they still had cash. They'd planned this trip meticulously, celebrating their triumph with our money. My hands trembled. I was her age once. I was the pride of Reed Landscapes. But I left that brilliance to be a wife. A stay-at-home mom. I was just a foolish guardian of the safe, watching over the money so he could give it to another woman. Ding. Another message. Still from her. Mrs. Reed, Mr. Cole said you are a wise person. He said, now that you are older, you should know when to let go if you want to keep your last bit of dignity. Asterisk older. Dignity, asterisk, she was provoking me. She wanted me to go crazy, create a scandal, so she could play the innocent victim harassed by the old wife. I stared at the photo for 10 seconds. No rage, no jealousy. Just a disgust like seeing a triumphant fly on a plate of cold food. I didn't answer. I didn't curse. I did two things silently. First, I saved the photo and her message into an email folder titled Evidence. Second, I deleted the conversation and blocked her number. This childish provocation wasn't worth my attention. My fight wasn't a social media response. My fight was a legal battle. A battle for assets. I didn't need the dignity she offered. I needed to get back everything that was mine. My fight was for the assets, and the biggest asset was this brownstone. The product of my 10 years of passion and my parents' wedding gift. I couldn't let it fall into their hands. I called Mark, the real estate agent Chloe recommended. My voice was calm and clear. Mr. Mark, I've thought about it. I've decided to sell urgently. Can you speed up the process, even if we have to lower the market price a bit? Mark seemed surprised but professional. Mrs. Reed, don't worry. Your house is a rare gem. And you, the landscape architect, designed the garden personally. The clients who saw the photos are captivated. I smiled sadly. Captivated, I was the person who loved this house the most. Mr. Mark, this orchid garden is the soul of the house. Tell the clients. If they really want to buy it, please let them keep it. Rest assured, Mark replied. I'll find you a worthy new owner. I thought a quick sale would take weeks, even months. But I was wrong. The power of money and the appeal of this house were greater than I thought. 2 days later, Mark called, euphoric. Mrs. Reed, good news. Very good news. My heart pounded. What is it? We have a client. Not just a client, Mark almost shouted, a heavyweight client. Americans who just returned to the States. They said they were speechless at the photos. The house has very good energy. And the orchid garden you designed? Beautiful. I listened in silence. Mark continued excitedly. They don't want to see the house in person. They trust your design. They want to put down the earnest money deposit immediately. They didn't haggle a single cent off the asking price. They only have one request. What request? I was anxious. They said they want to buy your entire orchid garden. Mark hesitated. They said the house would lose its soul without that garden. They are willing to pay an additional $25,000 for all your precious orchids and maintenance costs. They asked you not to take anything. Leave it as it is. $25,000. I stood in a daze. My 10 years of youth. The 10 years I gave up Reed Landscapes. The 10 years of watering, fertilizing, pruning. Valued at $25,000. It was ridiculous, but at the same time, I felt recognized. Someone, at least, saw the value of my silent sacrifice. Okay, my voice was choked. Tell them. I accept. I'll leave everything. Excellent. Mark rejoiced. Can we schedule the signing of the purchase agreement for this weekend? They want to pay 90% in cash in one go. I hung up and looked at the garden. For 10 years, it had been my joy, my pride, and the gilded cage that trapped me. Now, it was the key that freed me. Asterisk goodbye, my private Reed Landscapes. Thank you for giving me my first $25,000 to start a new life. Asterisk the news that I froze the accounts and put the brownstone up for sale spread faster than wind. I assumed Ethan and his mother, in their rage, had called everyone they knew to slander me, pressuring me to look like the cruel, heartless wife. And the well-meaning people began to appear. First call, Laura, Ethan's cousin. I always respected her. Her voice on the other end was awkward. Ava, I heard what happened. Ethan was wrong. Very wrong. I gave him a piece of my mind, but Ava. She hesitated. I stayed silent. You're a woman. You have to understand, men are weak. He made a mistake. If you make a scandal like this, it just embarrasses the whole family. Handle it privately. You have to be patient. That's what being a wife is about. If you sell the house, where will the children grow up later? Think about it again. I hung up. I didn't want to hear anymore. Patience? I was patient for 10 years. To the point of losing my career, my youth. And now I was supposed to be patient so he could give my money to his mistress? Second call, Andrew, Ethan's best friend. This time, the tone of a man who understands. Ava, it's Andrew. I really laid into Ethan. But you're his wife. You have to understand his temper. If you cut off all his money, how's he supposed to live? He's stuck abroad. And if he does something impulsive, it's not good for you if he collapses. You have to give him a way out. A way out? I felt like crying, but I laughed. Who gave me a way out when I gave up Reed Landscapes to be a housewife? Who gave me a way out when he embraced a young mistress at Arya? I didn't answer Andrew. I hung up again. Then came a flood of persuasive messages, college classmates, the lady next door, who was worried because I didn't look happy lately. All advising me to calm down, to think again, to forgive. I was fed up. Fed up with this hypocritical advice. They didn't live my life. They weren't in this house. They didn't know what I'd endured. They were just outsiders, judging. I turned off my phone. Too tired to talk to anyone else. I wanted to be alone. I went into my home office, a room I'd barely entered for 10 years. A thin layer of dust covered the bookshelves, filled with my books on landscape architecture, bonsai, garden design. On the wall hung the first 3D design blueprint of Reed Landscapes, finished after an all-nighter. Once, it was my pride, my ambition. I sat down and turned on the computer. It had been too long since I touched design software. My hands trembled a little, but my brain seemed to wake up. I opened a new file and started drawing. A rooftop garden on a skyscraper, full of sun, with hanging orchids and a small koi pond. I was drawing my new life. Once finished, I opened social media without thinking. One photo, the screenshot of my 3D design. One caption, first draft for a new life. Rebooting Reed Landscapes. I turned my phone back on. No text messages, no calls. For the first time in 24 hours, my phone was silent. The well-meaning people had fallen silent. They no longer advised me to forgive. They knew I wasn't playing games. I wasn't just leaving Ethan. I was rebuilding my own empire. My post successfully silenced the persuasion of friends and relatives, but it ignited the dying powder keg that was Ethan Cole. He had become a stranger, an enemy in my mind. He'd failed to use his mother to pressure me. He'd failed to persuade me through his friends. Now he would confront me himself. He was surely still stuck abroad, without a penny. The rage of being financially cut off, plus the shock that I dared to publicly sell the house and restart my career, turned him into a beast. The first message came from a new account. Ava Reed, you really are something. How dare you put my house up for sale? How dare you announce your new life? Who do you think you are to use that old name Reed Landscapes again? I read it. Still rage. Still arrogance. He still thought I was the weak kitten from 10 years ago. He still thought I'd be afraid. I didn't answer. I screenshotted it, sent it to Chloe. Additional evidence. Threatening content. A few hours later, since I didn't reply, a second message came. More vulgar, more threatening. You're going to play dumb? You think you can sell the house without my signature? Don't even dream of it. When I get back to the States, I won't forgive you. How dare you touch my assets? How dare you touch my mother? You'll see. I'll make you kneel and beg for my forgiveness. I read the message, but my heart didn't flinch. You won't forgive me? I hadn't known peace for 10 years. I lived in a false peace, bought at the cost of my career and pride. Now, I'd rather be myself than have that false peace. I screenshotted it again, sent it to Chloe. Threat evidence, number 2. A day passed, and I didn't answer. His rage couldn't solve his hunger or buy a plane ticket. He began to be afraid. A man accustomed to luxury, to being served, now trapped in an unknown place without money. Rage couldn't defeat desperation. Around midnight, the third message came. From an unknown number. He'd probably borrowed a phone. The tone had completely changed. "Ava, honey." Those two words made me nauseous. The man who'd been threatening and growling moments ago was now trying to be pathetic. "Ava, I was wrong. That girl deceived me. I fell into her trap." I just laughed. Even now, he was blaming someone else. He still thought I was a fool who would fall for a few sweet words. The next message came immediately, as if he was afraid I wouldn't read it. "Ava, I really have no money. I'm stuck here. I'm so hungry. Honey, don't you have any feelings left for me?" Then came the line I knew was coming. "It's 10 years. 10 years of marriage. How can you do this?" 10 years? He dared to mention 10 years? The 10 years I buried my youth in the kitchen. The 10 years I gave up my ambition. The 10 years I worked like a slave for his family. He was trying to trade those 10 years for a plane ticket and forgiveness for his $4,000 meal with his mistress. "Come back, Tuck. I'll fix everything. I'll kick that girl out. I'll kneel and beg for your forgiveness, Ava." I looked at the phone screen. My heart was cold. Affection. The word sounded so cheap coming from his mouth. I screenshotted it again, sent it to Chloe. Additional evidence, manipulation and pleading. I turned off my phone and threw it on the velvet sofa. The room was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. A heavy, tired beat. Ethan's false plea didn't move me, but it filled me with disgust. 10 years. He dared to mention the affection of 10 years. Yes, 10 years. I had to find out how he valued those 10 years. The post about Reed Landscapes was impulsive, but it reminded me of who I was. I wasn't just a crying housewife. I was an architect once, someone who worked with numbers and logic. Now it was time to use that logic to price this marriage. I went into Ethan's study, a room I'd barely set foot in. He always said it was his private space. The smell of tobacco and old paper stung my nose. I turned on the light. Everything was artificially tidy. I opened the drawer of his hardwood desk. Locked, of course. But I was his wife for 10 years. I knew where he kept the spare key. Under the money plant in the corner of the room. The arrogance of a man who thought himself clever and that his housewife would never find it. I opened the drawer. Documents, neatly arranged, contracts, insurance, bank statements from numerous accounts I didn't even know existed. He told me $2,500 a month was all the family's expenses. It was just the tip of the iceberg. I sat on the floor and spread everything out. My eyes fixed on the numbers. My already cold heart now felt like someone was squeezing it. Expense reports in the 6 figures. Cash withdrawals, entertainment expenses weekly. And here, his official salary account. The real number was 5 times what he told me. 5 times. I laughed, but I felt like crying. I lived in a gigantic deception. I was not his wife. I was a housekeeper, paid $2,500 a month to take care of this brownstone and garden, while he was building another home with our money, the money I saved by giving up Reed Landscapes. The $4,000 meal at Aria wasn't a mistake. It was a habit. One of countless performances I knew nothing of. I was so foolish to fall for or hold down the fort. I trusted the promise of "you stay at home, and I'll take care of everything." He was taking care of everything in his world. A world without me. I sat in the pile of documents until the first sunlight shone through the crack in the door. The coffee had long gone cold. I felt disgusted, but I couldn't stop. I had to know everything. My eyes stopped on a particular transfer record. A recurring transfer. Not as large as the other expense reports, only $2,500, but regular as clockwork. My dry eyes felt pricked by the letters. Internal transfer, beneficiary, Mrs. Rosa Gomez. Amount, $2,500. Exactly the same amount he gave me every month. He was transferring exactly the same amount to another woman named Mrs. Rosa Gomez. A woman's intuition whispered this was no simple problem. With trembling hands, I moved the mouse and checked the transaction history. June 15th, May 15th, April 15th. I scrolled back. My heart pounded. Not a recent expense. It had been ongoing. I kept scrolling. My mind grew colder. 2 years. Oh my God. For 2 years, without fail, exactly $2,500 transferred on the 15th of every month. I quickly typed $2,500 multiplied by 24 months. $60,000. Who is Mrs. Rosa Gomez? I searched my memories. A completely unknown name. Not my relative, much less Ethan's. I was sure. Friend? No one transfers $2,500 to a friend every month for 2 years. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't infidelity, as Eleanor said. This was a plan. A long-term, systematic plan. He wasn't just having an affair. He was supporting another woman. He was investing our money, the money I saved by giving up Reed Landscapes, in another woman. This betrayal was far colder than the 30-second video. The kiss at Arya could be lust. But $60,000 transferred over 2 years was calculation, intentional deception, a complete disregard for me. Who did they think I was? An idiot? An ATM? I didn't cry. I couldn't cry anymore. I only felt rage. A cold rage that surged from the depths of my heart. This rage was enough to burn these 10 years of false marriage. I didn't call Ethan. I didn't text insults. I did one thing. I screenshotted all the transaction records to Mrs. Rosa Gomez from the first month to the last. The total, $60,000. I sent everything to Chloe with a single line. Chloe, investigate who Mrs. Rosa Gomez is and what he supported with our $60,000 for the last 2 years. It was 6 a.m. I knew Chloe was an early riser. I had to shower. My body smelled of hatred and cold sweat from the sleepless night. Under the hot water, I didn't feel warm. I felt cold to the bone. $60,000. The number kept running through my head. He took from me. He took from us $60,000. For 10 years at home, I was frugal. I refused designer bags, luxury trips, because he said we had to save for the future. It turned out the future he mentioned was his future. With another woman. As soon as I got out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, my phone rang loudly. Chloe. Her voice wasn't that of a lawyer, but a friend so furious she was losing control. Are you sitting or standing now? Chloe's voice trembled. Standing. Tell me. Do you have the results? I answered calmly, holding back my wildly beating heart. Sit down. Chloe almost screamed. Sit down right now. I slumped onto the edge of the bed. Mrs. Rosa Gomez. Chloe took a deep breath, as if holding back a profanity. 60 years old. From the outskirts of New York. No stable employment. 60 years old? I felt more confused. Ethan would never. Who is she? My voice cracked. Chloe was silent, then said each word clearly, as if afraid I wouldn't hear her. Ava, she's Charlotte's mother. Charlotte's mother. The phone fell silently onto the wool carpet. But something exploded in my ears. Charlotte's mother. The mother of the 20-something intern. The mother of the woman in the 30-second video. $60,000. $2,500 a month to the mistress's mother. I could no longer feel my emotions. It wasn't pain. It was disgust. A nauseating disgust. He wasn't just having an affair. He didn't just make a mistake. He was playing the role of a beautiful son to his mistress's mother. With my money. With our money. I picked up the phone. Chloe was still screaming. Do you understand what I'm saying? That bastard was supporting not just his mistress, but her whole family. $2,500 a month. That woman was living like a queen. He was using your money. The money you sacrificed from Reed Landscapes to support another family. Ava, are you listening to me? I'm listening. My voice was strangely calm. I am listening and I understand everything. What do you understand? Chloe stopped, surprised by my composure. I understand. I stood and walked to the closet. He hasn't been my husband for a long time. He's been a thief and a con man. When the truth finally comes out, no matter how cruel, people no longer feel pain. They are only left with rage and a single goal. Chloe, I cut her off. Prepare the divorce papers. But I don't just want a divorce. I don't just want half the assets. I want everything. I'll make him pay for these 10 years of youth. Principal plus interest. I arrived at Chloe's office at 9 a.m. I was not the soulless, swollen-eyed woman from a few days ago. I wore the white suit I used to wear to defend the first Reed Landscapes project. My hair was pulled back. My makeup carefully applied. I was here not as a betrayed wife, but as a partner coming to discuss an important deal. Chloe looked at me, her gaze changing from surprise to respect. You're amazing. I was worried you'd lock yourself in the house crying or do something foolish. I smiled coldly. Crying, Chloe? Tears can't get back $60,000. Good. Chloe tapped the desk with a pen. Then let's get to work. With this $60,000 proof, we can not only file for divorce, but for fraudulent dissipation of marital assets. If we go to court, you'll definitely get the majority of the assets. He won't be able to lift his head. You just have to sign here. Chloe slid a folder at me. Just as I was about to pick up the pen, Chloe said, suddenly, wait. I looked at her. No, it's nothing. Chloe didn't look at me. She frowned, her eyes fixed on her computer screen. I asked my paralegal to double-check the brownstones information on the property registry for your sale, Eva. Chloe's voice suddenly turned serious. Come and see this. A premonition, worse than when I heard Mrs. Rosa Gomez's name, woke in my heart. I went over to Chloe's computer screen. It was the title deed information of my house. Look at this, Chloe pointed to the small print in the notes section. Your house has a lien on it. It's mortgaged. Mortgaged, I repeated mechanically. That doesn't make sense. I didn't sign any documents. This house was my parents' money. It's mortgaged. Chloe's voice was like a wedge, and not for a small amount. He took out a $500,000 loan against it. If $60,000 was a slap in the face, $500,000 was a bullet that hit me straight in the head. No, it's not possible. I screamed, my hard-won composure completely crumbled. Chloe, a $500,000 loan requires my signature. I'm an owner. Never. Calm down. Chloe grabbed my shoulders, shook me hard. Listen to me. Look at the date of the mortgage. I squinted. The date. 6 months ago. Exactly 6 months ago, Chloe said, her voice filled with rage. Remember, did you sign any strange documents 6 months ago? 6 months ago. My head was spinning. 6 months ago. Yes. At that time, Ethan told me the company needed large capital for an important project. He said it was a golden opportunity. He brought a thick folder of documents and told me to sign quickly, saying they were internal documents and his boss was waiting. Oh my God. I crumbled. Yes, I signed. He said it was an internal guarantee document. He pointed to where to sign. I didn't read, Chloe. Oh, Chloe. Chloe slammed her fist on the desk. The boom startled me. That bastard tricked you. He tricked you into signing a power of attorney or a mortgage consent. He took $500,000 from your parents' house. I didn't hear anything else. $60,000 to support his mistress. And this $500,000? Where did it go? Asterisk top secret survey trip to the Hamptons. Project. Asterisk suddenly, I understood everything. He didn't go to investigate. He went to finalize that $500,000. He was planning to escape. He was going to leave with $500,000 and his young mistress, leaving me with a foreclosed house and a gigantic debt. The $4,000 meal at Aria was just the celebration of his successful deal. Eva. Chloe's voice brought me back. Her face was pale, but her eyes were burning. Listen to me carefully. This is no longer just a divorce. This is no longer a civil case. She grabbed my hand tightly, emphasizing each word. This is a crime. Your husband is a criminal. Fraud and embezzlement. I looked at Chloe. The tears had dried up. The pain was gone. Only a cold emptiness remained. Yes, I said in an eerily calm voice. What should I do with a criminal, Chloe? What's the procedure for filing a criminal complaint? Chloe's voice echoed in the quiet office. Criminal, fraud, penal. Each word was like a hammer blow to my chest. $500,000. The number was so large it felt abstract. It was no longer money. It was an abyss. I must have staggered. Chloe quickly held me up and sat me down. Eva, are you listening to me? You have to calm down. Now is not the time to faint. Calm down, how could I? 6 months ago. I remembered vividly. Ethan came home, his face full of excitement. He talked about a golden opportunity, an internal investment project the company only offered to executives. He said it was the opportunity to change our lives, that I would never have to worry about anything again. He brought a thick folder, full of technical jargon I didn't understand. He flipped through pages, pointing to an X. Sign quickly. My boss is waiting. It's just an internal guarantee procedure. We have to trust each other as a couple, right? Don't you trust me? I trusted him, as I had for 10 years. I signed without reading a single word. I signed the power of attorney or the mortgage consent. I signed the death sentence of my marriage and my assets. How stupid I was. The emotional betrayal hurt, but this financial deception, this cold calculation to embezzle using my absolute trust, filled me with disgust. He was not just a bad husband. He was a professional con man. Chloe, I looked at her, my voice dry. $60,000 he used to support his mistress. And this $500,000? What was he going to do with this $500,000? Chloe looked at me, her eyes full of pity, but also firmness. You still don't know. He scammed you. He used your parents' house, your assets, to borrow $500,000. He was preparing his escape. He was going to leave with that $500,000 and his mistress, leaving you with a gigantic debt and a house that would be foreclosed on by the bank. I felt my heart stop. Selling the house. Now, selling this house wasn't revenge. It wasn't even to stop the bleeding of marital assets. It was a necessity. I had to sell this house to the buyer. I needed the 90% cash they promised. I needed that money not to get rich, but to immediately pay off the illegal $500,000 debt to the bank. If I didn't pay, the bank would foreclose. And I, as the co-owner, the person who signed under deception, would be the first to be held responsible. I would lose everything. The house, my parents' money, and be in debt for life. Ethan Cole didn't just want to leave me. He wanted to destroy me. He wanted to bury me alive in that debt and shame. Ava. Chloe grabbed my hand tightly. Listen to me. This fight has changed. It's no longer just a simple civil divorce case. It's a criminal case. You are no longer just a wife demanding justice, but a victim who has to fight for her own freedom. I left Chloe's office as if my feet weren't touching the ground. I don't know how I drove back to the brownstone. Everything around me seemed shrouded in a thick fog. The outside world was still noisy, cars still busy, but I was trapped in a glass cage without sound, without emotion. I slumped onto the steps outside the orchid garden. The $25,000 garden. The garden I was once proud of. Now it was the only thing that could save me. Everything became clear. Cruelly clear. I connected all the dots. 6 months ago, he tricked me into signing the mortgage documents, and the bank disbursed $500,000. He had the money, a gigantic amount, enough to start a new life. He started spending more blatantly. This business trip was not sudden, it was scheduled. The 15-day top-secret geological survey trip to the Hamptons was a lie. A carefully crafted lie to give him enough time to transfer the money and disappear. That he took his mistress with him? She wasn't the reason for the trip. She was just the prize he gave himself after a successful fraudulent deal. And the $4,000 meal at Arya. Oh my God. I let out a dry laugh. It wasn't a client entertainment meal, nor a mistake. It was a celebration. Ethan Cole was celebrating with my money, using our house as collateral, the fact that he had just swindled me out of $500,000. He celebrated his impending escape. He celebrated that I was the fool who didn't know I would soon be mired in a gigantic debt. His contempt, his cruelty, went beyond infidelity. This was calculated evil. He didn't just want my money. He wanted to destroy me. He wanted me to never hold my head up, to live forever in debt and shame. I immediately picked up my phone. My hands were no longer trembling. They were cold and steady. I called Mark, the real estate agent. Mr. Mark, my voice was calm. It's Ava. Cancel all other house viewings. I've decided I'm selling it to the American client. Tell them I accept all their conditions. I want to sign the papers this weekend. I need the cash. The sooner, the better. Mark seemed surprised by my determination, but he quickly grasped the situation. Fantastic, ma'am. I'll call them right away. They'll be delighted to hear this. I hung up. I had no other choice. I had to sell. Selling this house wasn't for the division of marital assets in a divorce. It was to save my own life. He wanted to bury me alive, but he didn't know I was the seed. And Reed Landscapes would definitely rise from these ashes. I sat in the brownstone, now an asset waiting to be sold. I turned off my phone. I didn't want to hear any more threats or false pleas from Ethan. I didn't want to hear the calculated crying of his mother. I needed silence. In that silence, I wondered, what was the man who just swindled $500,000 and was enjoying his business trip with his mistress doing now? I couldn't see him. But later, when everything came to light, I knew that even what I imagined was nothing compared to the cruelty of the real facts. While I was here, struggling with a $500,000 debt, Ethan and Charlotte were on a 5-star yacht in some distant sea. They were living the extravagant, frivolous life he once despised. Drinking the most expensive wine, eating food I never dared to dream of. Spending money like water. My money. But all parties have an end. My phone call, the freezing of the accounts, the cancellation of the black card, they were like throwing a bucket of ice water on their imperial dream. The black card, the symbol of Ethan's power, was suddenly declined when he tried to pay for the yacht rental the next day. He was stunned. He took out his second and third cards, but all the joint accounts were frozen. His rage, the one that manifested in his 66 missed calls, was real. He couldn't believe his docile wife dared to cut off his lifeline. And the fight began. Not my fight, but theirs. I could imagine how Charlotte, the young woman accustomed to wealth and luxury, would react when her gold mines suddenly ran dry. The sweet voice of Mr. Cole surely turned into a sharp scream. You promised you could take care of everything. You said the world would be mine if I stayed by your side. And now what? The cards don't work. Who's going to pay the hotel bill? You're a con man. And Ethan, the patriarchal man who always considered himself a king, how could he endure that humiliation? Betrayed financially by his wife and now bitten by his mistress. I imagined him screaming at her as loudly as he screamed at me over the phone. Shut up. If you hadn't demanded that $2,000 bag, we'd have money for a plane ticket. You're a parasite who only knows how to spend money. Their love, built on my betrayal and my money, was more fragile than seafoam. When the money was gone, only hatred and tearing each other apart remained. The $4,000 party at Aria was their high point. And this was the hell they created for themselves. I lived in silence for 2 days. In those 2 days, I organized all the Reed Landscapes documents, the old blueprints, the incomplete contracts. I wiped down every trophy, every thank you plaque that was gathering dust. I realized that in 10 years, I not only lost money, but I lost myself. I didn't hear from Ethan. He was silent, and Eleanor was also silent. I assumed they were preparing a bigger storm. On the 3rd day, as I was preparing the documentation for the house sale, my phone dinged. I was so tired of threats or pleas, but this time it wasn't from Ethan. It was a message from an unknown number. The account name was Charlotte. I frowned. Her. Again. Last time it was a provocative bikini photo. Now what? Had she found a solution with Ethan and wanted to show off they were still happy? My first instinct was to block her, like last time. But something prompted me. I opened the message. It wasn't a photo or a provocation. It was just 3 words, Mrs. Reed, save me. I was stunned. Save me? What game was she playing now? I didn't answer. I didn't believe a single tear of hers. A person who willingly accepted $60,000 of support for her mother from another woman's husband was capable of anything. A few minutes later, since I didn't answer, a flood of messages came. This time, it was a long paragraph, as if she had written it in advance, just waiting to send it. Ma'am, I was wrong. I don't dare to ask for your forgiveness. Just save me. That man deceived me. Mr. Cole is not human. He's a demon. As I read, I just laughed. Demon. A few days ago, wasn't the sophisticated Mr. Cole her gold mine? He ran out of money. You blocked the cards and he doesn't have a penny. He hit me. He locked me in the hotel. He said if I didn't get him money, he would sell me. Ma'am, I'm so scared. I escaped. I'm at the airport now. I don't have a cent. I wasn't a psychologist, but I could piece together the full picture. The fight on the yacht was over. Ethan, penniless, revealed his true nature. No longer a sophisticated gentleman, but a cornered tyrant, a thug. And Charlotte realized she'd bet on the wrong horse. She didn't love Ethan. She loved his money. When the money ran out, she had to flee. Fleeing not just Ethan, but the chaos she helped create. But why was she messaging me? The last message explained it all. Ma'am, I know you're going to sue him. I have what you need. I have proof. Proof that will make that man unable to lift his head. I can help you. I only ask that you forgive me for the money we received from him. My mother's sin. I will pay it back. I promise. I looked at the phrase. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. She was not my friend. She was a rat fleeing a sinking ship, looking for a new one, selling her old partner for a low price. She thought she could use me. She didn't know I also needed a tool, just like her. I looked at the message, Mrs. Reed, save me. Just a few days ago, the same account was sending me bikini photos, mocking you are older. This change was truly dramatic. I didn't trust anything from her. A person who gladly accepted $60,000 for her mother from another woman's husband was capable of anything. I believed this was another act, a more cunning trap. I didn't answer. I wanted to see what else she could act out. And as expected, when I kept silent, she panicked. A flood of messages. Mrs. Reed, please answer me. I know you hate me. I deserve to be hated, but Mr. Cole is not human. He's a demon. I remained silent. Demon. He wasn't the sophisticated Mr. Cole, the gold mine she boasted about just days ago. He ran out of money. You blocked the cards and he doesn't have a penny. He hit me, ma'am. He hit me. It's true. The next message was a photo. A selfie. Not a pretty face. One cheek swollen and bruised, a long scratch near her mouth. I escaped. I'm at the airport now. I don't have a cent. I'm using borrowed Wi-Fi to message you. He said if I didn't get him money, he would sell me. Ma'am, I'm so scared. I was wrong. I was foolish. I just want to go home. I looked at the photo. Should I feel pity? No, only fatigue. This was the price of greed. She gleefully enjoyed my money. Now she had to pay for that party. But I remained patient. I knew this rat didn't come to me crying just to vent. She had to have some bait. And what had to come, came. Ma'am, I know you're going to sue him. I have this. It's proof that will make that man unable to lift his head. He hid it in the safe in my apartment, and I stole it. I only ask that you forgive me and my mother for the money we received from him. I will pay it back. I promise. I just want to live in peace. Proof, the coup de grace. I raised the corner of my mouth. This rat was quite clever. She knew she had to take insurance when she fled. I typed. It was the first time I had responded to her. My message must have been as cold as ice. What airport are you at now? The response was instant. I'm still stuck abroad. I just escaped to the airport. I don't care where you are, I wrote. I also don't care if he hit you. That's your problem and his. But I'm interested in the proof you mentioned. Yes, it's true. They're double contracts, tax evasion documents. He said it was his biggest secret and that's how he got rich. He said if it got out, he'd go to jail. Tax evasion. Double contracts. A strange emotion stirred in my heart. It turned out the empire he built, the facade of the sophisticated rich director, was built on a foundation of crime. Monday at 3 p.m., I sent a message without hesitation. My lawyer's office address, 30 Park Place. Get back to the States however you can. Bring the proof. We'll talk. I hung up without waiting for his response. I knew he would cling to this as his last lifeline. He would still think I was stupid, that I still loved him and wanted to talk privately. He would come with the last hope of being able to reverse the situation with crocodile tears. He didn't know he was walking straight into his own final judgment. Chloe's office at 9 a.m. today was different. The air was tense. I chose a black suit instead of white, the color of the end. I sat there with Chloe by my side. Across from us was another lawyer, a Mr. Herrera from J Capital, the investment fund. He had a solemn face and piercing eyes. Ethan arrived 5 minutes late. He opened the door himself, but upon seeing me, seeing Chloe, and especially seeing Mr. Herrera, he stopped. His appearance was wretched. His beard unkempt, hair greasy. His designer suit was wrinkled and smelled of fear and sweat. He was haggard, eyes bloodshot and sunken. "Ava, honey." He tried to put on a pitiful voice. He tried to approach me. "Sit down," Chloe growled, pointing to the only empty chair in the middle of the room. Ethan stopped. He looked at me, then at Mr. Herrera. He began to realize something was wrong. He awkwardly pulled up the chair and sat. "Mr. Ethan Cole," Chloe began, her voice devoid of emotion. "Today, we are not here to talk about 10 years of affection." Chloe pressed a remote, and the large screen on the wall lit up. "Let's get straight to the point. Image 1. The 30-second video at Arya. The scene where he kissed Charlotte." Ethan closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. "This is." Next, Chloe pressed the remote. The bikini photo on the yacht. Silence. "Just look at the screen." She moved to the next slide. The bank statement. The words $2,500 circled in red. A table calculating the total of $60,000. Ethan began to turn pale. Next, the screen changed to the brownstones' mortgage contract. The number $500,000 was enlarged, followed by the result of the signature analysis. The signature of Mrs. Ava Reed is concluded to have been obtained under fraudulent pretenses. "That's nonsense," Ethan screamed. "You signed it yourself. You're still trying to lie?" I opened my mouth. It was the first time I'd spoken since he entered. "You said it was an internal guarantee document, right?" Ethan was speechless. He looked at me as if he'd seen a ghost. And finally, Chloe pressed the last slide. The folder of double contracts that Charlotte brought. This time, Ethan didn't scream. He just sat there, panting. Sweat pouring down. He knew there was no way to deny it. At that moment, Mr. Herrera, the lawyer from J Capital, spoke. His voice low and firm. "Mr. Cole, I represent the J Capital Investment Fund. We have obtained all these documents. We are officially reporting you for commercial fraud and embezzlement. You have been deceiving us for 5 years." "No, Mr. Herrera. I was deceived. That girl, Charlotte, she seduced me." Ethan turned to me. He tried to crawl out of the chair and kneel. "Ava, save me. Tell him to stop. 10 years. It's been 10 years. I looked at him. The man I once loved was groveling at my feet. My heart didn't stir. No pity, no satisfaction, only an emptiness. "Mr. Cole," I said, "you don't need to beg me or Mr. Herrera. The person you need to talk to is not us." Ethan looked panicked. Just then, the conference room door opened. 2 uniformed police officers and 2 detectives in plain clothes entered. "Mr. Ethan Cole," one of the detectives said, showing his badge. "We are the NYPD's Financial Crimes Task Force. We received a report of your tax evasion and fraud. Please accompany us to the station for questioning." Ethan was petrified. He looked at the 2 police officers and then at me. The look was no longer pleading. It was pure hatred. But it was too late. 2 cold silver handcuffs snapped around his wrists. He was dragged past me. My 10 years of marriage, my 10 years of youth, my Reed landscapes that I had given up, officially concluded with the dry click of the handcuffs. 6 months later, I heard news of him through Chloe. The trial was held. The result was known to everyone. Ethan Cole was sentenced to a total of 18 years on charges of fraud for embezzling $500,000 from me, fraud against J Capital, and tax evasion. 18 years for a lifetime of greed and falsehood. His mother, Eleanor, couldn't overcome the shock. She suffered a stroke and was paralyzed on one side. I learned from old neighbors that she was now bedridden, crying and cursing, but no one cared anymore. Charlotte, due to her confession and returning the entire $60,000, received a suspended sentence for her role as an accessory. It is said she disappeared from the city, returning to her hometown to live another life. I no longer felt hatred or satisfaction. I just felt that everything had returned to its course. You reap what you sow. I was standing in my new office. It wasn't large, a small penthouse in an old building, but it was full of sun. The walls were covered with design blueprints. They had been forgotten for 10 years, but my skills didn't disappear. They were like a seed, buried under the rubble of the marriage. Now that the storm had passed, it began to sprout. Chloe came in with 2 cups of coffee. What's wrong? You just got the landscape design contract for the entire new riverfront development. Why the long face? I smiled and took the coffee. I was thinking about what kind of trees to use for the central lake. Chloe laughed out loud. Seeing you now makes me feel that this is the Ava Reed I knew. I looked out the window. The sky was very blue today. People were still busy, but my heart was surprisingly at peace. I sold my $25,000 orchid garden, but I got back my own entire sky. I didn't need to do any charity work to prove I was okay. I just had to live well and do my job well. For 10 years as a housewife, I learned how to tend a garden. Now I would use that skill to tend my life and make other people's lives more beautiful. I took a deep breath. The smell of coffee, paper, and the smell of freedom. My real life had just begun. What do you think? Have you ever had to fight for your own freedom, even when it meant burning down your past? Share your thoughts in the comments below. ***.